How you guys doing? My name is D.GRAY, and I started this channel because of some of the challenges that I've had filing a claim, filing a VA disability claim. There's a lot of sites out here that take you through a process of filing a claim, and I think that sometimes we're listening to too many voices and we're agitated and people are just not really giving you the straight dope. Um, I had been going through the same process for a long time. For a long time, I got out of the army back in 1993, and I wasn't given the straight dope about VA claims. So what happened was I spent a lot of time dealing with just all kinds of innocuous information, just information that didn't help. Okay, um, for a long time I just didn't know. So to not get too deep into my struggles with it, just understand that there's a lot of veterans out there that are battling through the VA system to get the compensation that they deserve. Um, I think that the VA is not the bad guy, but the VA, because of so many soldiers and veterans they have to deal with, that they have to be pretty stringent about how they deal with things. Um, I know that there's this idea that they're out there, that they're not trying to help you, and maybe that could be the case, per the, case by case. But what needs to happen is somebody needs to be able to stand up and tell you the straight, no bull, no fluff, with no real monetary gain from helping veterans. I was lucky enough to have some people in my life that stepped up and said, "Hey, I know you're frustrated. I know you're stuck, but this is how you go about doing this claim." And especially, for those that have been doing it for a long time. Um, I, some advice I'd give you if you're stuck in your claim is stop listening to a bunch of advice from other veterans. I'm a veteran, so that kind of counters what I'm saying. But again, it's all a matter of what makes perfect sense. What makes sense? Because you can't go into this process and you're not making sense. Because if you're not making sense and what they're telling you doesn't straight correlate with what you're doing, you're going to get stuck. And understand, everybody's situation is different. The state you live in is different than most people. The people that are going to examine you are different. They just do things differently. So the way that you stack things in your favor is that you make sure that you're telling the truth. First and foremost, make sure you're telling the truth. Don't go into any of these exams or claims not telling the truth, because that's the last thing you want to do. Is you want to be fraudulent in the things that you're doing. Um, Understand the VA will help you to some degree, but they're not going to help you in every case. The VA is not about the business of just handing out money, especially since they're the purveyors of the money. They're the ones that actually take the caretakers of the finances. So don't expect a whole litany of help from them. It's not that they don't care, but you got to understand the vast amounts of information they're trying to ingest, and everybody's case is different. So, but you got to check some boxes. And I'm going to tell you God's honest truth. There are some nuanced things that have to come across these people who are making decisions. Some nuanced things that have to be said by the right people. But I'll get into that in other videos. But today, what I want to talk about real quick is I want to talk about if you're stuck at a certain percentage and you've been there for a long time. I'm going to get into service connection, and we anybody who's been doing this a while understands the key component of a successful claim is service connection. For those that don't understand, for any sick call, for any medical interaction you had while you were on active duty, reserve duty, or whatever, um, that would be considered service connection. So if you're claiming an injury for service connection, for initial service connection, it must be in your medical records. This video is not for super beginners, really. We all, excuse me, we all understand what it means to be service connected. It has to be some treatables, something you got treated for in while you were in on active duty, whatever that is. Okay, that's the initial one. Now there are some other things that you can connect to that, but I'll talk about that later in the video, and then of course at a later date in another video when I get into the weeds on that. If you don't have service connection, chances are they're not going to accept your claim. They're just not going to accept your claim. So you got to understand that there are some secondary things that can happen that's not service connected, but if you have a service connection and something pops up later, that comes up as a secondary connection based on your service connection. So if you're coming in off the street just saying I'm hurt, but you weren't hurt in that general area or certain things that popped up, if it's not in your service connected medical records while you were on active duty, I'm almost 100% they're not gonna help you out. So, but let's get into, if you are stuck after they've made service connection and you're trying to get a higher rating because your condition has worsened, you filing another regular claim is not going to help you. I'm telling you. Because if they've already service connected everything they can service connect, they are not going to go back and try to give you service connection again. They're just not. Your best bet, the best thing you can possibly do, is what they call a supplemental claim. And I'm going to explain what a supplemental claim is. A supplemental claim is if your condition has gotten worse to such a degree that a doctor says that that injury is more than likely to have been caused by your service connection. Let me say that again. If a doctor or a qualified professional says that this malady, this injury, whatever it is more than likely the cause of the secondary injury or secondary to the service connection. And the reason why I'm bringing that up on my very first video is that is the fastest way for you to get stuck or unstuck if you're locked into a service connection, if you're locked into a percentage that you just seem to, your conditions worsen, but they're not listening to you. You have to convey to the person who's helping you, to your doctor, your therapist, whatever it is, you have to be able to convey to them that your condition has worsened, number one, or there's some other malady that has connected to the service connection that is more than likely caused by the service connection. I can't emphasize to you enough how much that verbiage needs to be in their assessment. Because if they're ambiguous or they try to be creative and talk around it, I'm telling you that more times than not, those examiners, those people that are looking at your claim, they are not going to give you that increase. The supplemental claim, and it has to come diagnosed by a professional, should have, in some very stark way, say, more than likely, this is caused by their service. The service. More than likely, this is caused by his or her service. In connection, probably to your initial service connection. These are things that have to be in there. And the fastest way to get that done is through what they call a supplemental claim. Okay? You have to think about these things. You have to find a way to convey that to your physician or therapist or whomever you're dealing with. You don't have to pay for this type of advice. This is real business. This is real, straight to the point. If you want to go to your VSO or you want to go to a claims lawyer, that's fine. That's fine. But the person who's making the decision, they're looking for certain words. They're looking for chronic things, and they're looking for certain wording and phrasing. And you have to say these things. You have to make sure that they're saying these things. And I'll say it one more time. More than likely. Your diagnosis has to basically say more than likely. And if you're doing it in a supplemental frame, that's going to expedite a lot of things. They're turning these supplemental claims over very quickly. Very quickly. So before you try to go back and try to find something that's service connected, if you already have service connection injuries, my advice to you, not even advice, I'm not even going to say advice. I would tell you the way that it worked for me to get the expedited decision. The framing of it has to be more than likely this injury is caused by service connection. Your connection to the service. More than likely. If you look at your medical records and they're putting their diagnosis in there and you see where they've said more than likely this is what caused this secondary injury, you have a very, very good chance of getting a positive result. More than likely. So the two things I'm going to leave you with this video, if you're stuck, supplemental claims, they expedite very quickly. But your secondary diagnosis should say more than likely before you send it up for a decision. And you can have that pretty much done. It's very quick. It's a very quick turnaround. So that being said, I'm going to come in and do some other videos another day. But today, that is the advice I'm giving you for those of you who are stuck at 70, 80, 90, and for some reason, you can't get service connection and get over that hump. Supplemental claims and the phrasing more than likely.